My name is Jasmine Smith, and I chose the topic and suddenly I became me. This visit to my dad started off just like any other visit. My mom dropped me off, and my dad was waiting for me at the front door. I ran as quickly as I could to give him a hug, and he lifted me up into the air while I giggled with so much joy. After Mom left, my dad took me to the park right down the street. The first thing I went to was the swings. My dad pushed me, and I would go so high, it was like I was flying. To show off, my dad would swing on the swing, and once it got high enough, he would jump off and land in the mulch. I was too scared to try anything like that. Another thing I did was run around the playground while my dad playfully chased me, never letting me know that he was obviously faster. The last thing I liked to do before we left was slide down the slide and see my dad at the end cheering me on. A cool thing they had at the playground was these microphones that acted like telephones. My dad and I would talk back and forth, him mostly making jokes. When it started getting dark, we made our way home. Once we got home, it was time for dinner. My dad made beef stew and it was absolutely amazing. He would kindly pick out the beef and potatoes for me because I didn't like vegetables. Luckily for me, he didn't force me to eat them. After dinner, I had some time to play some games on his computer. My favorite game was Blue's Clues. I played that until it was time for bed. My dad made my bed on the couch because he always kept his bed elevated too high in the air, so he was worried I might fall off his bed and get hurt. It didn't take me long to fall asleep. The next thing I know, I'm crying and my dad is cradling me in his arms. He is telling me that everything is going to be okay. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't remember what had happened. It was all blacked out. My dad was holding a cloth to my forehead right next to my eye. I opened my eyes to try and look up at him to see what was going on. He was carrying me to the car and strapping me into my car seat. He told me to hold the cloth and not let it go. After driving for only a few minutes, we arrived at a big building that I was unfamiliar with. My dad carried me inside. It was hectic inside. There was a bunch of people sitting, clearly getting agitated. There were other people running around on a mission. My dad went up to a counter and frantically tried to explain to the lady what had happened to me. I heard bits and pieces that he said. I heard couch, table, cut, and blood. The lady calmly entered our information and told us that we would be seen shortly. Felt like forever until someone finally got to us. While we were waiting, my dad held me the entire time, making sure I stayed calm and was comfortable. As soon as someone called for us, we were sent to a different section of the building. I was laid down on a bed that had wheels on it. They rolled me into a smaller room and my dad followed close behind. We had to wait a little while longer before another person came in, a man. He introduced himself as the doctor who would be helping me. This is when I found out that I was in the hospital and that I had a gash on the outside of my left eye. To prepare me for what was about to happen, these ladies were ordered to strap me down on the bed so I couldn't move. This made me nervous and scared. I was most certainly not ready for what happens next. The doctor came back in and got all his tools set up. My dad was allowed to sit in a chair in the corner of the room, which gave me some relief. The doctor held a needle in his hand and told me not to move. The other ladies had to hold down my shoulders on top of the straps that were already wrapped around me. The next thing I know, I felt an incredible amount of pain like nothing I've ever felt before. I started to scream and cry all at once. I kept wishing they would stop. One of the ladies kept telling me that it would be over soon, trying to calm me down. Nothing could calm me down at that moment. I kept screaming out in pain, telling them to please stop, but my pleas didn't work. After what seemed like a century, they stopped. I was still in pain, but it was nothing like before. They undid the straps and let me free. I was so relieved. My dad came to my side and you could tell he had been crying. He told me he loved me and that I did great. One of the ladies returned and pulled out a basket from one of the cabinets and let me pick a sticker. To be honest, I thought I deserved a lot more than a sticker for what I just went through. My dad was given some pain medicine to help me later when we returned home. Once we were given the okay, my dad carried me back out to the car. On the way home, my dad stopped by Wendy's and got me a Frosty to try and cheer me up. It was something we did often together. Not long after that, we got home. Both my dad and I passed out because this happened in the middle of the night, so neither of us got much sleep. I heard a loud knock on the door and then I heard my mom's voice. I was so happy to hear her, but she sounded so angry. My dad got up and let her in and she just continued to yell at him. I was confused once again. My mom was mad that she didn't find out about what happened to me until after everything was done and over with. My dad was trying to explain that everything just happened so fast. My mom ended up taking me home so she could keep an eye on me. I said goodbye to my dad and left. My mom and I arrived home quickly. She got me settled into my room. She turned the TV on and put on a movie so I could fall back asleep. She tucked me into bed and gave me a kiss on the forehead. It didn't take me long to fall back into a deep sleep. When I woke, I didn't know what day it was. Mom told me it was still the same day, just the afternoon. She explained to me what had happened to me. Apparently, I was sleeping on the couch when I rolled off and banged my head on the sharp edge of the coffee table. The side of my head had a gash in it and it would not stop bleeding. Everything made sense now. After a few days, my mom had to take the Band-Aid off my cut. This was so painful because it was pulling on my eyebrow hair and the stitches. My mom had to fight with me to take it off because I was not cooperating. Once she finally got it off, she looked at it. She told me that we had to go back to get the stitches out. I was slightly confused because why would they want to take them out? Wouldn't my cut have opened back up? I didn't argue, I agreed, and we got ready to go back. Once we arrived, we had to sit and wait again. It took forever for someone to call us back. They brought us to a smaller room like I was in before. I was asked to sit on the bed and be still. The nurse removing the stitches was painful, but not as painful as when they got put in. To this day, I still have the scar next to my left eye that constantly reminds me of the day and the pain that I felt. I swore to myself that I would never get stitches again.